Good morning, everyone. Good morning here in Scotland, and it will be good afternoon in Malawi. If you can hear me, that should be fine. I'd like just to welcome everyone to our scheduled meeting on the Further and Higher Education Forum. Of course, I'm speaking from Scotland. Some of you may not know me. My name is Yonah Matemba. I have been the chair of the forum since 2018. And thank you so much for joining us at this meeting. Now, we have a packed program in a sense today, and I'm fully aware that we are having meetings online with COVID in mind and the devastation it has caused and the havoc in many ways it has caused on education, both in Malawi and in Scotland. And so I think there are thoughts around that question also to be considered. As you may know, the broad aims of the Scotland and Malawi Partnership Forum, where we are in today, is to connect and to support and to represent the many further and higher education links that are there between Scotland and Malawi. The Scotland and Malawi Partnership publishes also a directory of the further and higher education links, which is free and it's available. In fact, my colleagues at the Scotland and Malawi Partnership would share you a link for those who are not aware that there's that copy, and you can download it for free. And we do update this directory from time and again once we get new members joining in. And so it's a little bit fluid in that sense, but also it's good to make sure that we are as inclusive as we can be, and also encouraging as many members from the institution both in Malawi and in Scotland. Of course, here when we're talking about the directory, we're also talking about colleges and universities there, both here in Scotland and also in Malawi. As I've mentioned, the overall aim of this particular forum is about meeting, sharing, learning from each other and one another, and discussing, listening to others' needs and priorities, and also ways of collaboration. And I think that's an important point to emphasize, ways of collaborating for the future. And the collaboration could be in many different things, and probably the meeting today might tackle some of these issues. To give us focus for today, we also have not this agenda, but also just to give members some updates on some of the action plans that we had come up in 2018 when we were thinking of the 3-year ahead. And we had a number of plans and targets to reach. And of course, I just want to share with you a few of these and some of the issues that they are still ongoing. And of course, because of COVID, so COVID disrupted quite a number of our plans. And I think this not only here in Scotland and Malawi, but throughout the world, how education and other plans have been impacted. The first action plan we had was to host a 3-day, half-day meetings of the Further and Higher Education Forum. And I'll be pleased to announce that that was actually achieved. We had that meeting and it was very successful indeed. We also had planned to publish a comprehensive and updated directory of the further and higher education links between Scotland and Malawi. We last updated this in 2015, and this was to raise awareness of the existing partnerships, share learning, build support, encourage collaboration, and also, of course, some time to reduce duplication. So you might find people doing the same thing, but not knowing that they're all doing the same thing. And once they come to a forum like this and to realize that, then they can collaborate better. And I'm pleased to say that we managed to publish that, and that was achieved in February 2020. Another of our plans was to strengthen the Scotland and Malawi Partnership Network and senior contacts across funders and key strategic partners with the Scottish Government, DFID, the British Council, the Association of Commonwealth of Universities, and others, actively participating in each other to meet some of the objectives of the forum. And I can say that this is ongoing. There are some issues or some things that have been achieved slightly, but also overall that is ongoing. The other one was to explore the possibility of supporting members to build a consortia bid. This was to bring together a number of Scottish and Malawian universities for further funding program. The Scotland and Malawi Partnership supported the 2017 bid for the DFID Sphere, or the Strategic Partnerships for Higher Education, Innovation and Reform project. This was very well received. While it was not ultimately successful in terms of the funding, DFID actually encouraged the Scotland and Malawi partnership to follow up a similar approach for possible future collaboration of such kind of a program. Of course, the COVID-19 disruption did also cause some havoc on it because we were not able to fulfill this particular item in terms of our objective. But we are very hopeful that moving forward to the future, that this is one of the issues that we're going to look at. And today we might focus on that as part of our agenda today as well. Fifth, to make a tangible contribution on the issue of accreditation, whereby too often Malawian qualifications do not have the appropriate UK equivalence due to the issue of NARIC. Or NARIC is the National Academic Recognition Information Center. And of course, if some members here might remember, we did circulate, myself and Dr. Mtika from Aberdeen University, we did write a short report, which we distributed to our members. And also, you may maybe recall that an updated version of that report was published in the Weekend Nation in Malawi newspaper on the 6th and 13th April 2019. And I'm sure some members here may have seen it or maybe not. If you still have a copy of that particular newspaper, which was kind of updated in many ways, you can find it on the Association of Malawians in Scotland website, but also you can find it also on the Scotland and Malawi Partnership website. You just have to Google that. The title of it, Crisis. The title of the article was Crisis. What crisis? Malawian universities and accreditation. So if you just check that, you should be able to find that particular report is still there. I checked this morning. Finally, probably is to support Malawian academics studying in Scotland and Scottish academics in Malawi potentially, including through visa applications, support establishing work-based placements, signposting, alumni networks, and responding to other requests and priorities. The Scotland and Malawi partnership has supported with visa applications and sought to support Malawian postgraduate students studying in Scotland to find internship and work experience opportunities. And that work has also been achieved and is also ongoing as we encourage that kind of partnership. Through the course of our information sharing today, I hope that we will surface major issues for Malawi and for Scottish institutions working in and with Malawi, which will inform future action plans of this particular forum. And of course, turning to the agenda, we have a kind of a number of items we need to go throughout today in our meeting, and I think you've seen the agenda on our Zoom link for us probably to be guided. We have about 90 minutes together, and we have a lot to cover in that time, and hopefully we shall share very interesting kind of experiences and also how we can move forward as a forum and as members also in your various institutions, and also together in moving forward many of the priority areas that might be identified today. Now, we first hear from the colleges and universities in Malawi about their research and interests and potential for further collaboration. And I'll be a little bit strict on that one. We will ask the members there to speak only for 60 seconds in the interest of time, just to update us of who you are, your institution, briefly what you're doing. And there, of course, our colleague in Malawi from the Malawi Scotland Partnership, Stella Masangano, she will introduce this particular session, but I'll come to that in a short while. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome and to introduce to you the Dr. Joseph Nagoli, who is the Director of Knowledge and Learning at the National Planning Commission. And I'd like to, sorry, can I just go back slightly? My apologies. Let me just go back, and I'd like to ask Stella. Stella, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I was having challenges to join, but I'm here. How are you?
Okay, I'm very well, and I hope you're able to see me. Yes, I can see you. Brilliant.
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, you have actually encouraged me just to invite you to introduce our colleagues in Malawian universities and colleges. We have just about 20 minutes or so for that activity, if that's okay. And then once you introduced it, you would also probably invite the members in Malawi for about a minute to just introduce themselves and the institution and briefly what they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. It's my turn now?
Yes, please.
This is afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stella Masangano from Malawi Scotland Partnership. It's a network-led organization. We have members that we work with. Today, we are here to simply talk about research, which is critical in terms of preparing product and service development for the betterment of this country and other countries. Yes, we have our sister organization, SMP, and also various universities in Scotland who are willing to work hand in hand with us to ensure that we zero in areas that we think we are facing challenges and develop product or services that can be feed into the private sector for process efficiency, among others. Let me now call upon members from Malawi Scotland Partnership and also others to introduce themselves quickly and also to speak concerning research and the relevant information that we need in here. I think that's in order. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Chinsisi Kazua. I'm from the Malawi Scotland Partnership. I work as the project officer for the Malawi Climate Leaders Project. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Joseph Nagoli from the National Planning Commission. I work as Director for Knowledge and Learning. And I'm joined here by our colleague. Maybe it's also better that he introduces himself.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Jamali. I'm the Research Manager at the National Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Hendrix Nkata, Climate Change Coordinator working with the Malawi Scotland Partnership. Nice to be here.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Cosmo Ngongondo from University of Malawi Chancellor College, formerly Chancellor College. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Science.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ruth Malua, working with Malawi Scotland Partnership. I'm the Regional Coordinator for the Southern Region. Thank you.
I am John Saka, Vice Chancellor of Muzuzu University. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and good afternoon in Malawi. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning and good afternoon. I am Kondwan Chizuisano, an academician and a researcher from the Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Malawi, and good morning, Scotland. I'm Linda Dembo from Malawi Scotland Partnership. I'm the Programs Manager. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. My name is James Gondwe. I'm the founder and director of Center for Youth and Development in Malawi. We focus so much on providing schools with access to computers. And of recent, we started providing support to universities as well. We've supported Livingstone University, but also Malawi.
Ms. Banda, Programs Coordinator from Lilongwe University.
There was a bit of collusion there.
Yes, I observed that. I don't know how far I had gone before she came in,
right.
But I think suffice to say I'm James Gondwe from Center for Youth and Development.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Mpaso Savangwa. I'm the Finance and Admin Officer for Malawi Scotland Partnership. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Mangani Katundu. I'm from the University of Malawi. I'm the
Dean of Research. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm Delinda Gombachika from Camus University of Health Sciences, formerly College of Medicine and Camus College of Nursing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Mwapatsa Mipando. I'm Associate Professor at Camus University of Health Sciences, and I'm also team lead for the MADENT, which is a dentistry project in Malawi, and also the Blantyre to Blantyre clinical research facility at the Camus University of Health Sciences. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Maybe we are done from Malawi. I think if there are others who are joining, maybe we'll just ask them to introduce themselves in the chat box. If we have left, yeah.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for that. In the interest of time, if our colleagues would just introduce themselves from Scotland in the chat there as well, I think that would be appreciated. And of course, throughout today in our meeting, some of the discussions we will have, there will be some kind of direct discussions about various issues. So thank you so much, Stella, for leading out on that. And thank you so much, colleagues in Malawi, also for highlighting, not only your name, but also the places where you work. And I'm sure that our colleagues here in Scotland also do have maybe some existing collaborations or will be future ones with your institution. So thank you very much for that. In the interest of time, I'll just rush a little bit on this one. I'm just looking at, can I invite Dr. Nagoli again? I know you introduced yourself, but if I could kindly invite you to come and speak with us just for a few minutes. Dr. Joseph Nagoli is the Director of Knowledge and Learning at the National Planning Commission.
Thank you so much. Firstly, I think, as I said, thank you so much for having us in this meeting. I think this is our first engagement with such a forum. I will say basically I'll be very, very brief. One thing is that the National Planning Commission has basically two mandates. The first one is the coordination of the development of long and medium-term plans for Malawi. So in that regard, we have basically now have a long-term development plan or development vision, which we are calling Malawi 2063. And from that, we have extracted a 10-year implementation plan, which we are calling MIP1, which has just been approved by Cabinet, but it's not launched yet. That specifies what sort of priorities or interventions that we need to do as a country as we move forward. The second mandate is basically to monitor or to spearhead the implementation process of those long and medium-term plans. So I think one thing that is very, very critical for this type of discussion is that whatever we want everything to be driven by evidence. So research is so important in the delivery process of the Malawi vision, but also the 10-year implementation plan. So what we are trying to do at the moment is basically to come up with a national research strategy that is aligned to the vision and the medium-term plans. So this research strategy or research agenda will basically look at each pillar and enabler and isolate areas that require more information, critically looking at what are the gaps, where do we need to do differently. As you know, I think science, research, and everything else will actually make sure that we are kept competitive in whatever we are doing. We are also prioritizing interventions in the right direction. So we are regarding research, science, and technology as very, very important in the implementation process. And I think what we would want is to really request this forum as we'll be engaging maybe in 1 to 2 weeks from now. Will basically value your contributions to this research agenda. I'm happy to say that I think most of the academics that are here, Chancellor College, University of Mzuzu, and others, we already reached to them to basically indicate their priorities. So we are assembling those, And once we are done, we actually call for a workshop or a meeting to basically consolidate and come up with one document that actually talks to the vision and also specifies the roles of different institutions in terms of research institutions on what they can actually do to contribute to information generation and evidence generation on the vision. So maybe if I can be brief, that's what we are looking for, and we're looking at this partnership with Scotland to basically see how also this could be of very, very helpful support to the whole process of developing the agenda, but also implementation of the agenda. So thank you so much for having us, and we're looking forward to more collaboration as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nagoli. Really appreciated to hear, government's plans and vision and the strategy moving forward. I just, as chair, for me, it's just probably 2 points. I'm so pleased to hear of the short-term and long-term, and I'll be keen, and I know members here will be keen to know also what the short-terms are. Because sometimes, as you know, when we talk about 2063, it's like far away off. It's like 4 generations after us or 2 generations after us. And there was all questions people wondering and say, well, who will be there at that time? Is it 3 generations? So it's good to plan for that, but also it's going to plan for the problems we have right now. So I'm really pleased to hear you talk about short and long-term medium plans and strategy moving forward to 2063. Thank you very much. Can I just ask one other question, whether the consultations in Malawi would also, about the plans that you have as a ministry, would also include the private universities that have mushroomed up in Malawi, and most of them do have charters, or at least they can grant degrees. I'm just keen to know how inclusive the kind of consultation approach is, not only for public universities, which are well known, but also the new and many private universities that have sprung up, and equally important also to hear what their views are on many different things. I just wanted to raise those 2 points, maybe for further consideration later on. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me, could I announce time that we hear only 1-minute updates from members of the Scotland and Malawi Partnership members who are here online with us, and I just want to turn to you for just a minute and just give us updates of what you have been since the last time we met. What have you been up to? What have you been doing since the last time we met? So if I could turn over to the members on the forum just for a minute, and that would be appreciated. Anyone brave enough to start?
I can start. My name's Emma Woods. I'm from Margaret University, and also a grassroots NGO called Stecker Skills. We are linked through the university with Stecker. God knows Maseko is a member of the Malawi-Scotland Partnership, and he is a grassroots children's rights campaigner. We got an International Development Fund grant to look at improving, in my words, the ways in which young Scots travel to Malawi, often as could have been seen in a white saviour way, to do jobs that Malawians could have been paid to do, like building walls and digging wells and things like that. I've put in the chat box the final report into the feasibility of a very different way, the youth solidarity groups, whereby young Malawians, young poverty experienced Malawians held dialogue groups which the young Scots paid to take part in. And we had enormous success. I think there's massive potential for other organisations in Malawi to adopt this approach, which is about knowledge exchange between young people and creating solidarity and a real understanding of structural inequality, instead of perpetrating the myths around needy, helpless, etc. So in a nutshell, that's who I am.
Thank you very much.
I'm happy to go next if you would like.
Yes,
Jeremy, I just retired actually. I was head of the dental school at University of Glasgow and been working closely since 2016 with Professor Mapando, who you heard from earlier on the Maldent project. Where we've got to, there are now 2 years of BDS students, and the first cohort will be going into clinical teaching in February this year. There's also a group in the foundation year ready to start BDS 1 next session. We've been working hard on the design of a new build for the Blantyre campus, which will accommodate clinical teaching facilities, but also a student hub. And through the World Bank, there is $5.2 million secured for phase 1 of that project. We've been working both across QHES and the University of Glasgow with WHO to work up the National Oral Health Policy, which is close to sign-off now from the Ministry. We've also had a long-term programme of re-equipping the dental facility in Lilongwe at KCH. There's another container of equipment that's recently arrived in Mozambique and will be trucked up to Lilongwe shortly. And finally, we've recently established a local Scottish charity called Maldent Student Aid, which will raise money to help provide some additional funding for needy dental students. But big thanks to Scottish Government, to the funding, and to the great team in Malawi, Dr Mapando, but also Peter Chimimba and James Machenga. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, perhaps I can go next. I'm Heather Kuby, Chair of SMP and also involved in the cervical cancer prevention programme in all regions of Malawi. And let me say, first of all, that we are so impressed by the way in which the team has managed to keep go with cervical screening and treatment all through COVID and screened more than 30,000 women since April 2020. My background is as a clinical virologist, and I was the Research and Development Director for NHS Lothian. So I would make a plea to Joseph Legali that the research extends to that translational end. We always used to call it R&D, and the translational end, in health at least, needs the hospitals and patients. It has to be a robust partnership between universities and hospitals. And I would be very pleased to be involved in anything that would help to develop that kind of end of your research strategy. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather.
Shall I jump in, Yonah?
Yes, please.
Hi, everyone. Tracy Morse from University of Strathclyde. I'm going to talk about colleagues' projects as well as my own. So Damien Frame, who's on the call as well, heads up our EASE project, which is Energy Access and Social Enterprise program that's deploying microgrids and energy hubs under a social enterprise model. They're supporting the government of Malawi national energy policy targets and piloting the district energy officers in Deds and Balaka to provide a bit of learning for how we can do a national rollout from there. And it partners with Community Energy Malawi, United Purpose and Washtead, were the academic partners through MABAS, or previously Polytechnic, and they help to look at the kind of social impact and microgrid performance and planning. From my own side, still working very much hand in hand with Kondwani Chidswisano, who introduced himself earlier, on the environmental health side of research, and also with some programs as well with Sterling and with the Malawi Liverpool Wellcome Trust. So we're looking at plastics research, looking at plastic waste in the environment in terms of disease transmission and also mental health and economic development. We've done a lot of work, obviously being environmental health around COVID in the last 18 months. So that's really focused on myself and Kondwani are technical advisors with the COVID Hygiene Hub internationally, but that has helped to fund work that Kondwani's led at Queen Elizabeth Hospital Guardian Shelter, trying to implement improved hygiene standards to reduce disease transmission there, which has now led on to a 3-year research programme across all the Guardian shelters in the southern region. We've also been looking at research across Blantyre District Health Officer, helping to support looking at COVID preparedness across all the health centres. there as well, and the implications for vaccination and hygiene improvements in those areas. We've also got another programme called Sugolalanga, which is with PSI Malawi and Washted as well, and with the Centre for Reproductive Health at Kamuzu University of Hygiene, I'm obsessed with hygiene, sorry guys, health sciences. So that's on hold, unfortunately, due to the FCDO cuts at the moment, but we're hoping the research component will come back online next year. And then also from a Strathclyde perspective, we've got continuing links with our schools of education as well. So between Chanco and the Strathclyde School of Education. Sorry for the long list.
No, but very helpful. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you. Any other members who've got ongoing projects or some updates from the last meeting we had?
I can come in with something. I'm Dan Morse from the Global Academy of Agriculture and Food Security. It's far less of a scale than the previous contributors have mentioned, but we've been speaking with graduates, or scholars rather, of the RARE charity, and they support members of the Setemwa estate community. One of them is based in the Malawi Adventist University by Lake Malawi, and the other two are in Luana, and we've been involving them in seminars and various sessions with the students in the University of Edinburgh themselves, and also with some consultants and various others that we bring in to give them relevant agricultural related topics that cover work that they would be involved in, some of it economic, some of it in genetics, crop improvement, livestock improvement, things like that. So we've been getting on well with that. One of the challenges obviously is connectivity. It's not helped from their perspective, but we're trying to do the best that we can, and we hope to expand on that in future according to RARE's scholar wish. It's obviously subject dependent, but so far I think it's been useful. Try to engage them with our student community has been quite useful. But as I say, the connectivity has made it slightly difficult for them to participate on a sort of like-for-like basis, but we're certainly making the best of what we've got anyway. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Darren. Darren, I was just pleased to hear your collaborations are just beyond the public universities, including private ones. You mentioned Malawi Adventist University, because there was actually a comment in the chat also, I didn't mention it earlier, now how inclusive we can be in our kind of collaborations with higher education and colleges in Malawi, to include also those that are outside government, kind of control authority. So it's glad to see that in practice that is already beginning to start. So I think it's something to encourage.
The RARE charity has been very good at putting us in touch and helping engage. So they've been instrumental in that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Any other members who would like to give us some updates?
I'd quite like to, Yonah, if that's
yes,
okay.
Please.
It's a very different perspective, perhaps, but my name's Jane Gebby, and from Kontinani UK, which is a small charity that supports Kontinani Children's Village near Blantyre in Malawi. And our ongoing interest in further and higher education is that the children who have grown up at Kontinani over the last 23 years are now at the stage where they're taking advantage of opportunities to actually go to further education and higher education in and around Blantyre. And the numbers of them who are finishing school and are able through Cambridge International to get O-level qualifications are growing, and therefore we've got opportunities for them to continue to train and be educated, which is what all of them are very keen to do. And so we're currently in the process of talking to Rotary and different groups here about actually sponsoring some of these people to go and do the courses that they want to do. And in fact, many of them are actually already going to the some of the private universities around. We've got 7 in university already, and they're going to the Adventist College down near Cholo. We've got, and also the Catholic University in Malawi, and also the Millennium University. So, and that's one of the things that we need to raise funds for is, and of course it's incredibly good value, if you will, compared to the cost of sending people going to university here. Currently, we're asking people to look at maybe being able to raise £2,000 a year to send one of these kids to one of these colleges. And that's amazing, absolutely fantastic. So that's our interest at the moment in further and higher education. And we're fantastic to hear of all these links where the education available in Malawi is being constantly strengthened, and also the research is being focused on where are the needs and how can they be met. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jen. Thank you. Any more members who'd like to make a quick update?
Could I maybe say something here?
Yes, yes. Hi, Simon.
Hi. The project that I've been involved in for the last 3 years was helping the College of Medicine and then subsequently Kamuzu College of Nursing merged to become the new Kamuzu University of Health Sciences. So the original project was only for the College of Medicine, but then the Malawian government wanted the two colleges to merge. So that has been fraught with delays and COVID and all sorts of things. So it got off to a good start, and then COVID arrived, then the political machinations arrived in Malawi. And Kamuzu University of Health Sciences has only just been formed, I think a few months now, and they're awaiting the appointment of a new Vice Chancellor for that university. I think that's where we are at the moment. So we were preparing, or we were helping people in the two colleges move to fully independent status, looking at all sorts of organizational. It was really a governance project about establishing governance procedures that would allow them to move on to that, including student support, Senate, and all sorts of things going on. So work went on in the background, and a lot was done even though nobody was able to travel and places were closed and staff were diverted to other things, but a whole set of proposals and supporting documents and procedures have been established. The Scottish Government stopped the grant because it felt 3 years had been enough. So we don't have any support at the moment, and whether there is any more in the future will depend on perhaps the Scottish Government themselves, and also whether on the nature of the new Vice Chancellor. So we were behind the scenes working with them, and progress was made. It was quite an impressive list of things that came out of the preparation, but it didn't go to plan for the obvious reasons that my university has been completely focused on COVID, and no travel has been allowed, and obviously the same thing happened in Malawi. But I'm pleased to say the Kamuzu University of Health Sciences is functioning, working. Any further input from me and my university will depend on what the new Vice Chancellor and what the new management team would want.
Thank you. Thank you, Simon. Thank you very much. Any other members, updates, please?
Yes. I just wondered, if I could say something, given what Jane just said. My name is Lindsay Graham. I'm from the SOCO Fund, which works entirely in offering university scholarships within the public universities in Malawi. These are directed towards women, but we actually have around 75 across the universities at the moment. So Jane, if you wanted to get in touch with me, then I'll put my email in the chat.
That's helpful. That's very helpful. Thank you, Lindsay. Any members' updates?
Yes, can I come in? My name is Dr. Olushai. I'm sorry for the video not working.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I'm the Deputy Program Director for CHM General Surgery from Edinburgh Surgery Online, a unit of the Clinical Sciences Teaching Organization, University of Edinburgh. And we partner with the Royal College of Edinburgh Surgeons to train and support medical trainees and advanced trainees globally, and especially from sub-Saharan Africa, including Malawi. We provide scholarships and training. Our funding is from the Commonwealth Commission and from Edinburgh Global Scholarships. And at the moment, we have been able to engage more than 36 doctors from Malawi. And a well number of these they have graduated from our program, and some are still on the program at the moment. And your publication that was produced in February 2020, unfortunately, our project was left out, and I've been able to produce all the updates on our project and sent it to the person in charge. But yet, about more than a year ago, I guess because of COVID-19, we have not I've not received an update to say that you have included a project in your booklet. So it's something, please, you have to help to look at. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Goodman. Any other members that haven't yet given us some updates? If not, can I just probably ask our colleagues now in Malawi at the moment? I know that you did give some introductions and you did mention also the institutions from which you come, but I wondered whether you have some specific projects that you have, and now listening to all these discussions and all the interests in terms of research and other things that have been mentioned so far, whether you think that your project or ideas that you have could link with what's happening in this discussion, and if you could share that. Can I just give you a few minutes for that to share? Thank you.
Once again, John Saka from Mzozo University. We'll start from here.
Yes, Professor.
We have a number of projects which would be of interest to be exploited through this partnership. But more importantly, is that between University of Malawi, a Faculty of Science in Zomba, and us, we have partnered into a climate change project which is supported by Norwegian outfit under NOHED 2, and this is a South-South-North initiative, and therefore Professor Cosmo Ngongondo may wish to highlight a little more on that. However, as a university, we are, through particularly the Faculty of Environmental Sciences, involved in a number of climate change projects, fisheries, utilization of non-timber forest products, environmental history. We have a Faculty of Humanities and Social Science where this obtains. We are equally interested in health sciences matters where you are looking at reproductive health. We have a Department of Nursing and Midwifery, which is very active and working with our communities here. And with the advent of COVID-19, there has been a partnership amongst academics to appreciate the knowledge systems, perceptions against this pandemic. And one would think that there are interesting opportunities to exploit with our Scottish partners. I must say that Tracy Morse and us, when I was at UNIMA, we had initiated a project which was not funded. Yes. And she mentions here that she's likely to be back to Malawi, particularly on the history of fisheries. As we have Lake Malawi here, freshwater body system, one would think that we can exploit this South-South and North partnerships. That is the brief on us from Mzozo Investor. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Sak. Any other colleagues in Malawi who would like to share some thoughts as per request, please?
Yes, from the University of Malawi, as the VC from Zuni added, that we are involved in a collaboration, network collaboration with Zuni, University of Oslo, and University of Dar es Salaam in implementing a climate change and ecosystems management project that is being funded by the Norwegian government. This is purely a capacity building initiative, but most of the research will be undertaken around Lake Malawi in our efforts to restore the ecosystem. So we'll mostly undertake the research through PhD and the master level student and postdocs. In addition to that, here at Chancellor College, at University of Malawi rather, we are also involved in a number of research activities around energy technology and sustainable development, especially renewable energy, where we are partnered with universities in the north in developing sustainable energy solutions, especially targeting deprived communities in the rural areas. So we are developing technologies like stoves and so on in our efforts to manage the environment while utilizing sustainable energy resources. So my colleague, Dr. Mangani Katundu, who is the Dean of Research, will add further research areas that we are involved in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Can I come in and talk about?
Yes, Dr. Gondo, yes, please do.
All right, so my name is James Gondo once again. I work with the Center for Recent Development, and our core work has been in providing schools with access to computers. that we've been able to do now in the northern region, but also in the central region, where we've been able to support 140 schools with computers, each getting a minimum of 20 and a maximum of 50. And these computers also come packaged with education resources. And at the moment, we are even working harder towards creating more content that is actually aligned to the Malawian syllabus, so that once these computers go out to schools, they also have got the content that would actually add value to the education that the students have. Of recent, we started supporting, working with the universities. We started with two, that's the University of Livingstonia. We've been able to support all their 3 campuses with computers. And then we're also working with Malawi University, Malawi Assemblies of God University, MAGO, in Ilongo and Blantyre campuses as well, that have also been supported. We are still looking at ways of working with more universities in the future. Of interest also is some work that we did with we tried to work together with the University of Glasgow to try to put together a concept, which we did for submission to the Castle Trust. So we did some work around a manifested gender-sensitive approach to girls' retention in Malawian secondary schools, but also looking at the future transition to post-compulsory education and work. So within that, I think we're trying to explore, about the interlinkages between access to technologies, but also gender-sensitive pedagogical approaches in the delivery of education in the secondary school. But we're not able to get the funding, but it's an area that we are still interested to, collaborate with others and see how best we can be able to implement that. Within the University of Glasgow, it was being led by Baba Reid. I think she was the one who was reading from the School of Education. So I think that's a bit about us, and yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Gondwe. I was pleased also as chair from this side to hear your collaborations on the ground in Malawi with other non-public universities, and including Livingstonia and others. And I think we've got to think beyond just the public universities in Malawi when we think about the future of education in Malawi. Thank you very much. Any other members from Malawi, please?
Yes, please.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Kondwan Chidziwisano from the Malawi University of Business and Applied Sciences. So as Tracy has
There's been a break
indicated, as an institution, we want to continue in the area of looking at the issues of climate change. Renewable energy remains an area that may provide lasting solution to this. So we want to continue partnering with Scotland institutions like University of Strathclyde in this area. But also importantly, we would want to look at work more on the public health, specifically looking on the areas of COVID-19 prevention by focusing on issues of hygiene promotion, especially in schools and in healthcare facilities. As you know, issues of behavior change remains paramount if we are to really prevent such kind of pandemics. But for us to do that, we need to further explore various alternatives or various interventions that may provide sustainable change in terms of behavior amongst the rural and even those in the urban areas. So this still remains our key areas of interest. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Any more members on the ground that would like to share quickly?
Yes, from Luana, we also have been working on various projects where we have interacted and collaborated with colleagues from Scotland. We worked with Scottish Rural College on various projects on dairy development. And also we've worked with University of Glasgow on issues to do with the environment. And we've had, of course, even after doing those projects, we've worked on several proposals. Of course, some haven't been successful, but we still have those links and would want to use this opportunity to continue building on some of the issues that we've worked on before. And at the moment, we also have a project which is basically on the research capacity building for staff in African universities, which we've collaborated with the colleagues from University of Edinburgh and also other African universities like in Kenya and Tanzania, and that one is ongoing. So we would really want to continue along those aspects with the collaboration, not only with colleagues from Scotland, but even locally. We, at the moment, we also have an interest to focus on the concept of One Health, where we are looking at not only separate issues concerning animals or plants and humans, but doing research in such a way that with understanding that all the different areas would have an impact on each other, and therefore have different scientists coming together from different aspects, but by the end of the day, achieving environmental health, human health, livestock health, and also plant health. So we'd want to pursue this further with our colleagues locally, but also even on the other side in Scotland. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Panda. Any more members who still wish to share their research interests from Malawi? If not, can I just thank all the members in Malawi? It's interesting to hear the various fields and areas of interest, and I think this forum does encourage. I also encourage you while we are discussing and talking about these issues to also check on the chat, because there are some discussions and some thoughts also going on in the chat there. So I encourage you to look in the chat as well. But I'd like to thank everyone else at this point in our meeting, and thank you for sharing these thoughts. Quite interesting and very important indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me again, I would like to bring in my colleague, Dr. Tracy Morse, just because it is getting clear from the discussions, especially from the research interest in Malawi and even some of the ongoing work, and going back to the Sphere 2017 bid, which we tried but didn't succeed, but although it was quite well developed. And I think there have been some further thoughts there, whether, and we've been encouraged, in fact, whether we could explore further or new avenues and ideas and thoughts around of putting some sort of a bid, something similar to what we did in 2017. And I'd like to welcome Tracy. Tracy, if you could come and just share with us some further thoughts on this, on where we move forward. And also, while Tracy is talking, you could see also towards the end, what sort of kind of areas do you think, if we are going to have such a kind of a consortia bid in the future, what sort of areas do you think will be pertinent to be moved forward? Tracy.
Thanks, Yonah. I'm just going to take a couple minutes with some slides, but hopefully what we can do is spend most of the time having discussion, because I know that you will all have really valuable opinions about how we potentially do or do not examine this opportunity. So as Stuart had put in an agenda, it was thoughts on a collaborative hub. I've kind of called this at the moment for institutional capacity building, but I think that it actually, institutional capacity building probably doesn't capture all of the areas that we've just been discussing at the moment. So just to give a bit of history, there's the Sphere application's been referred to a few times in the meeting today already. So just as a reminder, this was something that came through the British Council in 2016 and was submitted in 2017. A number of the people on the call today were directly involved with that proposal. And it was a really exciting opportunity at the time. We had a great team on the Malawi end pulling together to lead different work packages and particularly universities in Scotland as well, who were engaged at that time. We called it the Malawi-Scotland Higher Education Partnership, and it was supposed to really focus on innovation. So we embedded that around the issue of connectivity and communication, which again has come up today, and the use of what was white space technology at that time to try and improve and reduce the cost of access to internet and connectivity, and improve connectivity across institutions. And around that were different work packages. So one on quality assurance and accreditation, one on employer engagement, improving educational practice, and also on embedding ethics and moral capital across the different institutions that were involved as well. Really importantly, although these are the listed organisations that were involved in that proposal, and I think just to re-emphasise a point that Yonah has made as well, is that I've got a Puma in there because we had multiple private universities who were part of the discussions, although Malawi Adventist was the only one who actually went in as an official partner to that and as representative of the Association of Private Universities in Malawi at that time. But it was very much seen as a proposal that would engage both private and public universities to support them in their development. And thank you very much for setting me up nicely, Dr. Nagoli, as well, by talking about Vision 2063. I really look forward to seeing the 10-year objectives on that too. But Vision 2063 emphasises the fact that the education system needs to be redesigned to respond to the current and future skills. And again, that's been mentioned by a number of people today. And also that the emphasis in the Vision 2063 as well on the need to accelerate the economy, which of course needs higher and further education to be expanded across the country. So the question, I guess, Yonah and I have for you today is whether we think this is a concept that's worth revisiting. It obviously needs to be made fit for purpose again, because things have moved on significantly, not least the fact that it's great to come to this forum and be able to engage not just with Scottish universities, but also the Malawian universities as well. And I think it's just so valuable what we've managed to transition to in the last 18 months, where we realized this is much easier than we thought it was, to make this a much more engaged and equitable conversation. So what we were looking to say is, do we want to look at the Malawian further and higher education institutions along with the Scottish ones? And at the time as well, we were also including our funding, quality assurance councils, in Malawi. I think now with the, someone I'm sure will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we now have 6 public universities with the reshuffle. We have over 18 private universities across Malawi. And of course we have the National Commission as well for higher education in terms of quality assurance and accreditation. And then having gone through the Scotland and Malawi Partnership website, I found 14 different further and higher education institutions that are members of SMP, majority of which are represented here today. And of course, we have our equivalent of the Scottish Funding Council and SQA as well, who were engaged in our initial conversations around Sphere 2. And of course, we need to have a think about what the focus might be. Certainly, we had those specific focuses before, which I have reiterated along the top here. There's the issue of research support. And again, Dr. Nagoli raised the issue of looking at what should the research agenda be and what should the priorities be for Malawi, and how could we as Scottish institutions potentially help in that process. Simon referred to the fact that, there's been direct support between Glasgow and the Community University of Health Sciences for operational capacity building, but I know that all of the new public universities and the private universities would also benefit from support and advice and learning about how things operate in different ways. And I know that our institutions in Scotland would benefit from understanding how the systems work in Malawi and what the differences are and why they're different, and how those kind of barriers sometimes to, for example, research funding can be overcome by looking at those different systems and working more effectively. These are just my personal thoughts. I think there's a lot of opportunity here, and I know that John Zaka and I spoke about this many years ago on thought leadership in terms of partnerships and engagement. The kind of engagement we have between the two countries puts us in a really strong position to have a platform and a voice about how these academic partnerships work in a kind of ethical, equitable and forward-thinking kind of way, looking at the horizon in the future, thinking about how these partnerships are more effective, whether that means less flying, whether it means more sustainable choices, ensuring that our Malawian counterparts are leading the research on their side and have full ownership of what's going on. And I'm sure, as I said, that there will be lots of other topics and things that you would perhaps want to see there. So there's been specific research topics mentioned, for example, like climate change, renewable energy, public health, You know, would we want to look at specific hubs where academics come together? We see this as a little bit of an opportunity with the Scottish Government, you know, talking about institutional capacity building, that there is potential opportunity to maybe approach them to look at that on a wider spectrum. I know that they've always been very keen to have Scottish institutions working more closely together, which again is something that we could explore and look at the opportunities. So I'll leave my thoughts there, and it would be great to hear feedback from both our Scottish and Malawian colleagues.
Thank you so much, Tracy. Thank you so much. Indeed, I think from here, let's spend probably another 10, 15 minutes, if we may, just kind of more about the issues that have been addressed in Tracy's talk, and the ideas and thoughts from the Sphere project in 2017 moving forward, and to think also more broadly about other issues that we could together work on a kind of a concerted bid. And I want to kind of welcome the members here to just kind of, we just throw thoughts around and see where we can take forward these suggestions. If I could invite members on the forum with us right now, what are your thoughts are on what's just being presented and what your ideas are moving forward? I see on the chat here. Yes, go ahead.
No, okay, thank you very much. This is a wonderful springboard to go to the next phase. And indeed, if we are to have a project of this nature, it will strengthen Scottish or Scotland-Malawi partnership, foster engagement amongst ourselves. But I wish to highlight this matter, that as Malawi, with nearly I think 40% of our population being young or youth, whatever we do must be such that it enhances the capacity and the capability of the youth to go into self-employment, and yet supported by a higher education system, which indeed works with them, trains them, provides appropriate mentorship, so that indeed we can sustain their livelihoods for the future. And therefore, the benefits indeed in sharing with the Scottish partners is very, very critical. And there is a box there which looks at employer engagement. Maybe it could not largely be employer, but I would wish to say that it was youth engagement. And therefore, the employers, the public sectors would, and the youth would come together, because then there would be a wonderful platform for empowering them, because otherwise they will be left behind for a little longer time. And therefore, our Malawi 2063 vision may not be realized, and then we'll be dragging appropriately. This would be my initial thoughts. Welcome idea, but the focus on the youth empowerment and building their capacity and capability to participate in wealth creation is very, very critical. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Saka.
Sorry, am I able to, I can't find the hand up thing, but I'd just like to really emphasize that, the importance of vocational skills training to young people. I've been involved, you know, again, through STECA with their developing a vocational skills centre. And I think what's coming, and I know lots of other NGOs who aren't possibly at this meeting will share this, is also about women being able to empower themselves to become part of a workforce as well, and to be entrepreneurs. And certainly we're coming across a lot of initiation camps and ways in which women are very much disempowered when it comes to vocational skills training. I think that really needs to be part, that, you know, I think that's, I've never heard anyone at the Scotland-Malawi Partnership talking about these initiation camps, and yet it's so fundamentally important that we do help women move beyond these expectations of them being there to sort of please men, or...
I think you have you should have already looked at this theory.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. I don't know what's happening there.
In second year, can you tell me, have you looked at the Grunic?
Sorry, a lecture suddenly started in the background. I'm so sorry.
Right.
Anyway, I think that's important. And I would also think that having some sort of research, which may well be there, because I know vocational skills training is a priority for the Malawian government, but looking at where the opportunities are for young people to gain employment post-education is something possibly that we could support.
Thank you very much. Can I, while we're waiting for others to join me, can I ask specifically Dr. Nagoli, do you have something much more specific, one issue or two, from the wider government plan that you think might help in this discussion?
Maybe it will be difficult to just point to one, but what I wanted to say is that I think it has been very enlightening to us on the amount of research that is currently being done through this partnership. And we really value this. And one thing that I would request is whether, I think maybe through Tracy, to come up with maybe a little bit of a compendium of what is happening, where, and which areas, and who is doing what. That would be very, very interesting for us. Secondly, just to say that I want just to emphasize on what our senior colleague, Prof. Saka said, on the issue about strengthening capacities. I think that's an area that we need to look into more. What we have observed from our current kind of synopsis is that I think we have quite a good amount of research being done in the areas of agriculture, health, and maybe environmental issues. But I think when you look at the pillars and enablers, I think there is sometimes not even any research at all on the other pillars being done. For example, mining and other areas, looking at the all enablers, mindset change, I think environmental, economic infrastructure and others. So we would really want, again, these other areas to be looked into through this partnership, because I think, as I said, we want research that covers all the sectors. So again, to me, it's just a question of saying, thanks so much. I think this is wonderful. You mentioned about the issue about consultations. Yes, I think we want to engage everybody. I think all private, public universities, private research centers, public research centers that are not academic, but we also value the amount of work that is being done through the academia. So that's wonderful. And again, in terms of the long-term nature about our vision, as I indicated, this is a long-term vision, 2063, but it will be implemented in tranches of medium-term plans of 10 years each. And this will be reviewed every 5 years. So we look really forward to actually us engaging more on these areas, but most importantly, again, us together supporting us in the development of research agenda and implementing that research agenda. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nagoli. Quite very, very helpful. I see there are some hands up here. Professor Kubi. Is your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Yonah. I think it's a brilliant idea that Tracy has put forward. And if we can go back to her starting slide when she was asking if sphere was an idea worth resurrecting. And my simple comment would be, I suspect that 2021, 2022 might be an even better time than 2016 in which to resurrect it, because of the emphasis on partnerships, capacity building across all parts of those who have been lowly resourced in the past, and the opportunities that arise through all the links that have already been mentioned. We're really, I think, looking at these capacity building issues, and that, I think, would be something that the Scottish Government would be interested in hearing about. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Kubi. David, I see your hand is up. Our CEO, David Hope-Jones. Or is there a legacy hand?
If David is not ready, let me speak.
Right, that's fine. Go ahead. Okay, Chair? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Listening to the various speakers, it speaks volume that a lot of research has been done with partnership with the universities from Scotland. The question that we need to ask here is to say, maybe the evidence that we are getting from research, are we blowing the trumpet enough so that the policymakers or those who can implement what the evidence has surfaced, are we giving them? That's an area that I think we need to work more. The other area that I think we also need to look into is, of course, it has already emphasized by the other presenters on the capacity building. Yes, there is a lot in terms of research, but as a country, as Malawi, do we have the capacity? Yes, we can say that. To some extent, we can also say no, because for any country to develop, we need research and development. Are we doing enough research to come up with evidence that is feeding into production of products that can be put on the market? Yes, I can say, or we can say no. So that is also an area that I think we need to also to look into. Thanks to those who have also already mentioned about the youth as being the future leaders. We need to engage and involve them more and more so that maybe in future they can take up the bandwagon. Suffice to say, I would say ourselves as researchers, are we satisfied that we are doing more? If we are not satisfied, why can't we? There was a comment in the chat box saying we need to converse more. We need to engage more here in Malawi so that maybe those who are not here with us, those with brilliant ideas, maybe they can also put them forward. Or maybe hearing from our National Planning Commission, I understand that they're coming up with a strategy or maybe priority areas that can be researched on. Maybe we need to work with them and ensure that we get from them what are the interesting area or priority areas that we need to research on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stella. David, your mic is working now, I would assume.
We'll see. Can you hear me, Yonah?
Yes, I can.
Fantastic. Well, my apologies for the tech issues there. Yeah, thanks very much. I was really echoing Heather's points there. That short answer to Tracy. Yes, I think there's real value in going back to what happened with the SPEAR application. Those involved at the time might remember that the feedback we got from the UK government at the time was, we're not going to fund you on this occasion because almost the Scotland Malawi higher education links are already so coordinated that the value add is less than potentially in other areas where there isn't existing structure, which is always a frustrating reason to be told that you're not funded. But I suppose just a point of information and clarity. I mean, the Scotland Malawi partnership are going to continue this forum. Further and higher education remains a strong priority for us. So creating spaces for the sharing and connecting between higher education links between Scotland and Malawi, predominantly digitally, will be the mainstay of our work. But if there was appetite from members and partners in Malawi, the idea of assisting more enhanced coordination and collaboration and capacity building and potentially packaging that up so that we could go to the Scottish government and saying, you know, rather than just say cherry picking one link between two institutions, here's a more systemic approach, an approach that better links back to Malawi's own National Planning Commission agenda in keeping with the principles that we all have. So certainly we, the Scotland Malawi Partnership, would be very happy to do it. I suspect in the time remaining in this meeting, we're not going to be able to bottom out exactly what that would look like, but great to think about what structures could usefully take this discussion forwards to really listen to everyone about what that sort of enhanced collaboration, enhanced coordination, and enhanced capacity building as a sector might look like. Thank you, Yonah.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much. Indeed, in the interest of time, Professor Mipando, briefly, please.
Thank you. For me, it's just recalling how the sphere went and some of the issues that some members, some of us had, because when you have a diverse needs, it becomes difficult to say what would be the priority. So as we are thinking of going forward is to find something that can be of interest to everybody, realizing that we are at different levels of research. And I was just thinking one of them would be research governance. If you look at most of our institutions, research governance is not strong, because even if we want to collaborate with our colleagues from Scotland, they would want to collaborate with institutions that have got well governance issues, financial reporting, all those kind of things. So I would want to see that emphasized in, if at all we were to go, something that can help on accountability and also objectivity and people trusting the systems that are there. And I know our colleagues are also big.
There was a bit of a break there from you, Professor Matemba. Professor Matemba, I think there's a break from him. Other members, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. I think Professor Matemba's, I think his link is frozen a bit. But I think the points he well made that he just elucidated to us. And I think going back also briefly to what David Hope-Jones has been saying, and I think that's quite interesting and important. And I probably at this time, I wonder if I could now, if we don't have any other pressing matter that we haven't discussed on this. I know, because in interest of time, we haven't talked about what do we do next? What should be our main priority? What's the strategy moving forward? And I think it would be interesting to know from this group what you think the kind of ideas are or would be moving forward with this particular strategy. I think there seems to be a general consensus or agreement to say, yeah, that could be a good idea, but maybe less so on what particular priority areas we should focus on moving forward. Is there one thought somebody might have before I bring in David Hope-Jones for our closing, please?
I guess from my side, Yonah, it would just be nice to know who might be a coalition of the willing, to steal a phrase from one of my colleagues, to maybe have a further discussion that we could then take something a little bit more substantive, maybe back to the group. And that would maybe be, I could propose that as a way forward that will maybe help us to progress. I'm hoping that Heather's going to put her hand up and go, I'm a coalition of the willing. And I'm also hoping that Mapatsa will say the same, because I know that we learned a lot in the last sphere as well. And John, you were really valuable too when at UNIMA. So I might just target a coalition or bully people into it, basically, to get something put together then. And I know it's easier for people to comment and critique rather than, you know, come up with ideas, especially in such a big group.
And I think I agree. And I think what we need now is just the ideas first. So let's explore the ideas and the strategies to help with those ideas moving forward. And then we can present a much more substantive kind of plan that could be shared with the rest of the members for further discussion. I see a hand from
Andrew.
Yeah, from Andrew, please.
Yes, okay, so this is Andrew Jamal again, Research Manager, National Planning Commission. I'm together with Joseph, my director here. You asked about what should we prioritize now as we move on. I think clearly speaking now that Malawi has a new vision in place, and much more the new operationalizing plan for that vision in the next 10 years, we need to begin to mainstream and align our research priorities towards the interest of the country's development perspective now. So in that perspective, I'm trying to bring across the idea of aligning research interest along the pillars and enablers of Malawi 2063. In so doing, then we'll be talking about the contribution of research to the country's development platform, because that's what I heard someone mentioning, that we're talking research for development, but we need to create a deliberate, outline of how our research is contributing to the country's development space. So priority number one, in as far as the Commission is concerned now, is making sure that our research priorities and interests are aligned to the current Malawi Vision Malawi 2063, as well as the first 10-year implementation plan that will be circulated very soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And that's I think, worthwhile contribution from government side. And I think, yes, I think once you're able to share the medium terms of the strategic plan for 2063, I think that will be very helpful also for that ad hoc kind of group that Tracy might put together as we discuss these issues further. And I think that's the way to go. Thank you very much. Now, we might have further thoughts, and I think just get in touch with us. It's there for interest of time. If there are things that you wish you could have probably added, or the thoughts came after the meeting, sometimes that has happened, please do get in touch with us as Kunama Partnership and just kind of add your thoughts and your contribution to this ongoing discussion. But I think the overall consensus seems to suggest that this is something we need to look further, something we need to collaborate more or talk more about. I think something we need to share, and I think there's a future here as us working together to bring in something concrete that we could present and probably as a future of this collaboration between Malawi's higher education institutions and Scottish ones. Thank you very much.
Can I just say briefly before you go?
Yes, please.
Yes, one of the things I always thought about is what we call project ambassadors, because we find out that there's a gap where the things we are doing here and the things we are trying to pass across to Malawi, we don't see somebody on ground in Malawi to bridge the gap. So what we have done in our own project is to engage alumni, people who have graduated from our programs, to be able to disseminate such information, because we have scholarships that are unclaimed by Malawi medical trainees, because perhaps they're not well informed, perhaps nobody is there to tell them all these things are available. So I think one of the things we can do also is to have project ambassadors where they're able to disseminate these information to people in Malawi that these resources are available for them to claim. So that's another way that we can move these things forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Could I ask David Hope-Jones, the CEO of Scotland and Malawi Partnership, just to give us some kind of conclusions and some action points for the Secretariat, please?
Thank you very much, Yonah. Can you hear me okay, Yonah?
Yes, indeed.
Great stuff. Thanks ever so much. So as Yonah said, I've been asked to sort of maybe try and distill some of the key points, and from the Secretariat's perspective, propose how we move forwards. As with all of our forums, it's only useful having a gathering if there's been meaningful progress since our last meeting, and I was certainly very pleased to hear the update at the start of this forum about everything that's been done since we last gathered. For me, there were three main sections of the meeting, and I'll briefly just go through each. First, and perhaps most importantly, it was listening to colleagues in Malawi and the National Planning Commission, hearing about Malawi 2063 and the 10-year implementation plans from that. Next steps from that section, obviously, as soon as the 10-year implementation plan is publicly available, please do let us in the Scotland Malawi Partnership know, and we will really step up to that that obligation of making sure everyone at the Scottish side knows about that, and doing everything we can to use our leverage to try and make sure that Scottish civic society, Scottish universities, and the Scottish Government are working within and towards that. I think there are a couple of questions that it would be great to come back to you, and we'll do it directly, Dr. Nagoli, about whether there's opportunities for people to feed in directly to your thinking still at this stage, and also when we might expect to have the outcomes of that process in terms of research agendas. But I suppose the important point for me is to agree that the alignment of Scotland Malawi research collaborations to the priorities as communicated by the government of Malawi is absolutely key. So we really step up to that alignment challenge, and we look forward to sharing more information and potentially feeding in once we hear how best to do so. The second, I suppose, part of the meeting from my perspective was the sharing space. And we always try when organizing these things not to be too prescriptive about it, but to create an open and accessible space for members to be able to put up their hand, as everyone has done so well in both Scotland and Malawi, to say, hey, listen, we're doing this. And it's certainly obvious that COVID has created some challenge and changes, as well as new opportunities for collaboration between Scotland and Malawi in the FEHE space. I've certainly heard that the funding issues that some have had, both with the contraction of the FCDO, the UK government's aid effort from 0.7 to 0.5, and also the pausing of some Scottish government funding as well. But I've also seen many new connections that are made, and really encourage you, if you haven't been following the chat box, to look at it now, to save any private chats that you have had in the chat box. We'll also share the public record from the chat box, and there's lots of useful, good connections there. So quite often when someone's saying, hey, we do this, someone's jumped in at the chat box and said, we're doing that as well, or let's connect up. And the final part of the so as far as actions from that second part, really probably the main thing that I want to do is flag up this excellent directory that colleagues have made, and so many on this call have fed into. Perhaps while I'm talking, Craig, if you could once again put in the chat box the URL to this directory. A couple of people, particularly at the Malawian side, have said it'd be good to know more about who's doing what and contact details, and that's exactly what the directory is for. It is all of the FE and HE links that we know of at the moment. So that's probably our main action point from item 2. Item 3, finally, around the sort of legacy of the sphere work, what Tracy called the coalition of the willing. I think it's a hugely important area, and I want to propose next steps. I suggest that later on today, we email everyone on this call a link to a SurveyMonkey. And essentially that's a democratic space. It's not going to be hugely long and detailed or complicated or bureaucratic, but a chance for everyone here, whether at the Malawian side or the Scottish side, to put down in maybe just 300 or 400 words, what are the key areas that you think we should be working more together on? I'm keen to emphasize this isn't an opportunity for you to bang your drum about why your area is very important. We all know it is, that's why you're doing it, but rather where is it really useful for us to invest in enhanced collaboration, coordination and capacity building across all of these HE links. I'll also in that email ask for volunteers for who wants to help drive that work, and as Tracy threatened, I'm sure we'll target people as well directly. We'll then, within a couple of weeks or so, share what people have put on that SurveyMonkey, recognizing that not everyone has had the chance to be able to say what they wanted in today's brief discussion. But hopefully that will be a menu of options, of things that we could do as a community to enhance collaboration, coordination, and capacity building in this area. And once we've got a sense as a community of what would add greatest value to the most people, we'll then start the conversation, most likely first with the Scottish Government, also with maybe the British High Commissioner and the FCDO, and potentially also with other funders like the Norwegian government, who's been referenced a couple of times. So that's my proposal of next step, and a commitment from our side within certainly this week to follow up by email with details about how everyone can feed in quick thoughts about how best to work together. Back to you, Yonah.
Thank you so much, David, for that good summary, and I think some of the action points as well, as you have articulated. Ladies and gentlemen, if you see some of the, as David has also mentioned on the chat there are some ongoing conversations and some links people are sharing on the chat. So it's worth checking what's on the chat there. And I think there's a request also there for a group picture, of course, online Zoom group picture. So if it is possible, if you could put your picture or your camera on so that I think maybe one picture could be taken, I think that would be appreciated. I don't have much to add from what has, brilliantly been covered in this meeting. We had about an hour or so of discussion among friends, and I think that's what this forum is about. What do we do with higher education? What are the priorities of government? What are priorities also of society, really? Because somebody has put in the chat, we're talking about impactful research, or research that has impact, or what it means, research that has meaning. And I think meaning is about utility. What can be utilized, what can be useful to society and to the students and the children that we teach. So education in Malawi remains a priority, and I'm very, very glad and pleased to see government officials present with us here and sharing with us the government kind of priority areas, and this is well appreciated. So, ladies and gentlemen, for me as chair of the Scotland and Malawi Partnerships Further and Higher Education Forum, I would like to thank you all for coming. And also, hopefully, that we continue this conversation, particularly also on the question of how we move forward, some kind of a concerted bid or discussions and thoughts around it, which Tracy might maybe contact you at some point to join some kind of a small kind of a group meeting to come up with concrete ideas on how we move forward and share this with the rest of the group. So with further ado from me, and we have already spoken quite a lot, especially for me, dominating as chair and talking all the time, and my apologies for that, but it was nice to hear our colleagues from Malawi coming with us in this meeting and our friends from Scotland as well, as we continue in this beautiful friendship and collaboration. Thank you so much. And I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yonah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.